first you gotta have the desire to want to do it. You know what I'm saying? The desire and the work ethic to want to do it, and through that process, you definitely got to record the music. And after recording the music, and of course, and I got to keep in mind, we got to, in today's time, it's just, it's honestly, it could be as simple as uploading it to whatever social platform. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen artists get discovered just simply off of, recording music and uploading it to certain social platforms and actually getting discovered. So it could be that simple, or it could be, performing different places, and, maybe somebody discovered you, you know what I'm saying? And they want to take you under their wing and get you in the right spaces with the right people that can help elevate your career to another level. So that's another package thing.
Yeah, I think part of it, you have to understand, it's music business. The bigger name is business. So once you understand that, although we all love music, but it is a business. And if you're trying to make money, you got to understand business 101. And you got to have a plan in place. Marketing is a key to anything. You can have the greatest, product, but if you don't market it, you just got something just in your pocket, So it's not. Once again, you got to understand how business works. So once you have a business mindset and understand how other businesses are going to receive you, or think like the consumer, then you'll have a better handle of how to pursue, how to proceed in this industry.
I'd like to ask you more about that. So how would you market it? I mean, what is the first step? I mean, after you've created whatever you're creating, if you write a song or, and you were talking about these roles like producer and director. Could you speak a little bit about that? What a producer does?
Yeah. Like you have to understand all the different roles. Listen, just because you have a laptop don't make you a studio. Don't make you a producer. It takes experience, and in the trial and error and things like that. And in this industry, there's no one person that's an island. There's a team of people that's behind any situation that's going on. Matt's got a whole company. He's got people that, that's doing a lot of things and have a lot of handle, because he can't, although we want to have our hand in everything, we can't do everything great, right? So you have to make sure that you have the right team of people that's with you. Nowadays, like I said, we're in a social media world. Well, you got to use social media as a tool, but at the same time, you got to have someone that is really, really good with social media that's going to help your content. If you notice, Al Capizzi right now, he's still doing social media. Anything he does, he's recording it, he's streaming it, he's marketing himself constantly, even here. So content nowadays is the biggest thing. It's not just about one song. You can have one song, but you can have 30-second pieces of content. You can have 10 different 30-second pieces of content to market that one song, to keep you relevant, because, you guys know, Instagram, the average Instagram piece is 15 to 30 seconds, right? But at the same time, it's constantly being recycled, and it's constantly being liked and clicked and things like that. And that's how you gain your audience as well.
Speak to that.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, to be clear, two things. The music business involves a lot of things that aren't necessarily music, right? If you want to hop into the music business, yes, the biggest door is to be a musician, right? But also the music business is being a marketer, right? So sometimes it's not you doing all this thing. Sometimes that's a service you can provide to musicians or labels, right? There are a lot of pieces, facets, and functions, that make up the music industry, and it doesn't require. And honestly, most of the people in the music industry are not musicians, right? It's a business. It's run by people who know business and industry. And so there are a lot of ways, inside and outside of being a musician, to be in the music industry. Now, regarding marketing, I think it's incredibly important to note that the key difference between where music was maybe 20 years ago and where it is now is that everything, music and beyond, is dramatically decentralized. What I mean by that is that we are in a direct-to-consumer market, right? So previously, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, in order to pop off in some kind of way, you had to have some connect at a radio station or something like that. You had to go somewhere where somebody could say, your stuff is good, let me introduce it to thousands or a whole bunch of people, right? And that still happens to this day, right? But what also happens, maybe equally or maybe even more, right, is that you just generate your audience on your own, right? Your social media platform is your marketing hub. How seriously you take marketing is how seriously you take your career. I'll say this, I don't know, the American dollar ain't doing so great, but right now I think the most valuable thing on planet Earth is not a dollar, it is an attention, a measurement of attention. How many people's attention do you have? How many people's attention do you sustain? And are you able to build on how many people's attention you have, right? Those are the things that if you do want a record deal, if you do want somebody to say, hey, I want to invest in you, these are the metrics that will make you an obvious trajectory, right? That'll say, hey, look what they did on their own, right? Man, we should get in on it, right? And at that moment, you have a decision to make. Wow, look at what you did on your own. Do you want to split that with somebody or not? That's the name of the game. Business.
Now I want to add to what they said when you said what ways can you market. It really comes down to what your brand is as well. You know what I'm saying? Your brand, if your brand is clean cut, then you market in that direction. You know what I'm saying? You figure out what are all of those elements that will connect with the audience that want that. You know what I'm saying? If your brand is it's horrorcore, you know what I'm saying? You figure out, okay, this is what works for the audience that likes horrorcore music. You market yourself based on whatever your brand is. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. Can I give you the one, first thing I do in my class, I teach at the University of Memphis, right? And the first pop quiz I give everybody is very simple. Like right now, who can tell me the difference between a contract and an agreement? Raise your hand. If you know the difference between a contract and an agreement.
One of them is legally binding.
Okay. Anyone else? Anybody else? Don't, look, there's no wrong answer. Just if you think you know, raise your hand. All right. So here's the thing. The difference between a contract and an agreement is nothing.
I thought so.
It's all in the word.
I was like, I'm about to learn something.
It's all in the wording. It's all in the wording, and this is business 101. It's all in the wording, because sometimes people act as if they're your friend. They're not your friend. It's business, right? So if I come to you and say, hey, what's your name?
Davis.
What?
Davis.
Davis. Hey man, I think you hot. Let's get together, man. Let's just drop an agreement and work this thing out, right? So you think we cool. But if I say, Davis, hey man, let's get together, let's drop a contract, let's work this thing out, you got a different mindset.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Because if I say contract, you're going to think, well, maybe I need to get a lawyer. Mm-hmm. If I say agreement, oh, he's just cool with me. It's all in the wording. It's the exact same thing. Because at the end of the day, you still got to sign. You still have obligations. You still got, everybody's got situations. But you got to understand how business works. And you got to understand that in this industry, in any industry, they're not your friends. It's a business transaction. So the difference between a contract and an agreement is what? Is what? That's what you got. Now you're starting to learn how business works. So don't just go by what people tell you, right? Because everybody goes, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do it. No, because I'm telling you, as soon as there's $1 to be made, people will get amnesia. All right? If you don't have it on paper, people will get amnesia about what you agreed upon, right? So even when you're writing songs with your friends, make sure you guys have some type of split sheet or an agreement, something written down, so that way when the song goes out, you guys start out, we were 50-50. All of a sudden now they think, oh man, this song gonna be bigger. Man, I actually wrote more than you did on this, right? Man, I know you my guy, man, but I think I need 75. It happens. I'm telling you. So understand that it's nothing personal. That's another term you're going to hear in this industry, just like a lot of industries. You're going to always hear, it's nothing personal, it's business. So learn that phrase as well. It's what? It's nothing personal, it's what? There you go.
You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
There you go.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
I'd like to ask while we're talking about this, do you guys ever struggle with staying true to your art versus what you think will sell? Or does the business control what you...
Man, hey, I love that question. I'm one of those artists that I rebel, to be honest with you. I can see the industry, of course, you can easily just go along with whatever the industry is offering at the time. I always say stay true to what you are trying to do, because when it comes to the industry, it's all about what's happening and what's hot now and whatever that faddest sound and style is now. And I always feel like if you try to chase that, what are you gonna do a year later when it changes? You know what I'm saying? Now you gotta and try to lock back in again. I always feel like you should, this is my thing, is stay true to what your art is and what your sound and style is, and find the audience that connect with you, and let the industry catch up with you when it's time, because you might end up being your sound and style might end up being the thing, and once it's the thing, you are the trailblazer. You're the one setting the pace. You're the wave. You know what I'm saying? So I always say be true to yourself rather than follow what the trend is, because trends and styles change when dealing with the industry.
My whole label is based off of this. It's called Unapologetic because the idea is to be boldly and unapologetic with yourself in ways that inspire others to do the same, right? And that originates from an idea that has worked for me my entire life. I'll just say this. Whether it's in the underground, mainstream, there is a very clear pattern of who pioneers, who breaks through, who is remembered 10 years later. That's one thing that I think about all the time. You see artists come and go, but there is a pattern to who is remembered 10 years later, who still has a career years and years later, right? And the core of that pattern is extreme authenticity, right? Like when you are extremely yourself, right? That's infectious, right? Even when people disagree with you, even when people live, completely juxtaposed life from yours, right? They will admire your ability to be extraordinarily yourself. Sincerity goes a long way, and I'm not even talking about just in music, definitely in music. But I'm here to say, I'm a musician. I'm a music producer that has done, honestly, things I can't believe I've done. Primarily linked to the fact that when people witness me, they're like, wow, that dude is really him. And I don't mean that in the new slang. I just mean I'm really me. I don't switch up nothing. I keep it all the way me all the time. And I found unique ways to storytell, right? Unique ways to tell my story and to express my ideas. And I find that is the most infectious thing. There's a reason why the world fell in love with Cardi B. There's a reason why the world fell in love with Glorilla. There's a reason why, I can keep going on and on and on. So many of these breakthrough artists that are remembered 10, 20 years later, right? It's because they were saying something we all thought and felt, and nobody thought you could say it. And they were daring enough to do it, right? And so I dare every artist I work with to do that in the studio. And there's another question back in the other building. We asked, who are some of our favorite artists to work with? For me, one of my favorite artists to work with is Mono Neon. If you don't know who he is, you should know who he is.
Google.
Right? Yeah, go and Google Mono Neon. savant musician. I don't even want to say what instrument he plays anymore because he plays every one of them. You know, and that is a guy who inspires me tremendously because he has found his way to extreme success, just outrageously being himself. I'll say that too. I'll say this too. And I want to kind of echo what Al said. You know, we're in a direct-to-consumer market now, right? You can see extreme success and have never seen the radio, right? It is about finding your core audience, and more importantly, it's about doing what's necessary for your core audience to find you, right? What are you gonna do so that the people who are looking for you know you exist, right? And I swear, man, like, you know, there's somebody in here, you could just slap your shoes together and make a beat. There's somebody, I don't know, maybe in Yemen who's like, yo, I've been waiting on that, son. Like, let me get that. And he's waiting to play the song over and over again, you know, but what are you gonna do to make sure that that person knows you exist? You know, I think if you accept this as a reality, it's empowering to be yourself. It's empowering to say, I don't have to follow the trends because I can do me and there's somebody out there waiting on me to be me.
I would say it like this, and I'm sure they can agree with it. I would rather be respected than liked. I would rather be more respected than liked. What I mean by that is, everybody is not gonna like what you do. Everybody's not gonna understand what you do. Get it? But one thing you cannot put a price tag on is respect. Because, you know, like Matt was saying, you could be cutting edge. They don't get it now, right? Like there are a lot of artists that we have grown up listening to. People did not like Prince when they first heard him, but he's revered and respected now. James Brown, right? Al Green, you know, Elvis. Trust me, when he first came out, people did not like Elvis, believe it or not. But he kept doing what he did. Same thing with, you know, Kanye West. He's been said a whole lot of things, but one thing they keep saying at the end of the day, well, I'm not it, but he's kind of a genius. You keep hearing that over and over, because at the end of the day, you gotta respect his body of work. You may not like the person, but you gotta respect his body of work. Because he's doing something that you're trying to say, I'm trying to get to that level. I wanna be in that same, you know, in that same atmosphere.
And using Kanye as an example, I think it's important to note, when Kanye came out, nobody else was doing what Kanye was doing, right? Especially at that level, signed to Rockefeller, standing next to Jay-Z. Nobody was doing that, right? And he got so much criticism on the commercial level, right? About his methods, his styles, whether or not he could even rap. Yeah. He should just be a producer, right? He got so much criticism, but it is, I promise you, it might be hard in the beginning, but if you dare to be different, you will be celebrated for it.
And you look at now, just like what we're talking about into this whole seminar for today, Memphis and the artists like Al and 3 6 and Yo Gotti and when these guys are still doing what they're doing, they were doing it because they just had a passion. Whether you liked it or not, but now the world respects
Memphis rap.
Memphis rap. Right? Memphis artists were just doing Memphis artists. They were just doing Memphis artist things. It wasn't, like and Al said earlier, it wasn't for the world. It was like, look, right now I'm representing North Memphis. Well, you're going to represent South Memphis. Well, I'm going to represent Westwood. I'm representing whatever. But now everybody's going north. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because all those chants that you're hearing that everybody else is doing, a lot of that stuff originated here. And that's one thing, because now they respect what we bring to the table. And they've always respected what we bring to the table. A lot of times what happens is we don't respect what's in our own backyard. And that's one thing that we have to start doing.
Yeah. We have a little bit of time left, and we'd like to give a chance for some of you guys to ask some questions. We'll stand up so I can see some of you. Does anybody have anything you'd like to ask? Okay.
Like when I think of Memphis music, like early 2000s, I think of like not only born and raised in Memphis, but also like the music itself is made in Memphis. Whereas now, like when I look at like an LA Chop or a Glorilla or even a Key Glock, that standpoint, like a lot of that music isn't actually being made in the city. It's just like they were born here, and so they're Memphis rappers. like, what do you guys think are some ways that we can get that production back in Memphis and get the business back here, and really like allow the music to not only like the name be out there, but the economy to
I want to say that a lot of those artists that you named, a lot of that stuff was done in Memphis. They may have moved outside of Memphis, but a lot of that music was definitely made in Memphis. But I do get what you're saying about they moved out. They end up moving outside of Memphis.
Yeah.
And how can we get that energy back in the city? I'm gonna pass that question on because that's a hard question to ask. That's a hard question to ask.
I'll say this, man. First of all, what's your name, man?
Paxton.
Paxton. Brilliant question. You know, these are questions that, you know, conversations I've had with the mayor, right? You know, I'm blessed to have worked with some regularity with the mayor regarding Memphis Arts, right? But I think the longest conversation that I've been having, I think it was a big part of the first conversation I had with him, you know, 10 years ago, was about, you're absolutely right, right? It's like, a lot of times Memphis can seem like an export city, right? We create and then we send them off somewhere else to build something else. And at some point they say they was from Memphis. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, right? And then we back in Memphis just have to discover that and feel pride about that. I think there's two elements to it, right? I think you gotta ask, why? Why leave the city in the first place, right? Why does it seem like artists are starting here, going to other cities and building, you know, because there are industrial things missing here, right? I think it's important to note that, you know, in Memphis' relationship with Nashville can be contentious at times, but look at what they built in the last 20 years in terms of a complete industry, right? Yeah. Like you go to Nashville, you trip over and bump into BMI. There's marketing firms all over the place. There's sink houses all over the place. Yeah. You know, so you know, it's yes, business is national and international, but it helps build a community when that business is local. When every piece of the machine you need is next door, down the street, in the next neighborhood, right? I can go and get somebody from LA. But it helps Memphis economy, and it helps bring the right people to build Memphis economy if I can go across the street and get this service or get this, you know, get whatever it is that I need to get my music out there, to market it, to get it published, to get it synced and licensed, whatever it is, right? And so you gotta ask yourself, if we've been doing this for so long, right, why aren't these things just already here, right? Like, I mean, let's take it back. We're talking about Stax music. We're talking about 60, 70, 80 years of history. Memphis is the most mentioned city in all of recording history. Yes. No city is mentioned on record more than this city. That's a crazy fact when you think about it. Yes. How do we not have these basic, how do we not have an alternator? How do we not have, you know, fuel injection? How do we not have these basic pieces to the machine, right? Okay, here's my opinion on this. We did.
We did.
I was about to say
there was a time when we did.
There was a time when we did.
There was a time when we did, right? Now, and those
pieces he's talking about is the business structure.
Yeah.
You know, the entertainment and the talent is here all day, yeah. But we have lost the business structure that used to be here, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, man. I mean, there are. I have, you know, a few different ideas as to why that has happened, why that has atrophied, right? And I'll just say this, you know.
Speak it.
Yeah, all right, you got it. All right, let's get it. All right, so
Speak it.
What was the mineral in Wakanda?
Vibranium.
Vibranium. Okay. It is my opinion.
Speak it.
It is my opinion that this city, and I mean the powers that be that have to choose the direction, the identity, the structural and economic building here, right, did not recognize its vibranium.
Yes.
right? It recognized it when it was soul, and R&B, and gospel. When it was Elvis,
Rock and roll, yeah.
Rock and roll.
right? When it was Al Green, it said, oh, wait a minute, we should build around it. We should help make sure that the people who want to build this industry have what they need. All right. They didn't see that with DJ Paul. They didn't see that with anything that has happened post-90s, right? Which, by the way, the biggest things to come out of Memphis in the last 30 years, even the biggest movie, was about
Memphis
rap.
Memphis rap.
Absolutely, right? And they did not associate an economic value to that. So they built no industry about that. Let's be clear about this, right? I can love music, y'all can love music. What gets built and what gets prioritized is based off of capitalistic ideas. What can make money? And if they don't think it can make money, it won't get economic build. But it's been making money for everybody except for us.
Yeah. I can piggyback off of that because I was a part of the 3-6 Mafia team when a lot of this is happening. And once again, the powers that be, city councils, county commissioners, Chamber of Commerce, one thing, like if you go to Atlanta, as soon as you land in Atlanta, you're gonna see billboards. The city welcomes you to So Deaf, and because Atlanta embraced they embraced what was there.
That's right.
Nashville embraces
Nashville
what
promotes
was
Nashville.
there.
100%.
New York embrace.
I lived 7 years in New York. If you go to New York, all of the most dangerous rap, all the people, all the things that maybe a community like this would be afraid to put up on a billboard. You got Cameron and Dipset doing the halftime show. You got Jay and all of these guys.
Yeah.
They understand the value of what came out of that.
Yeah.
Out of that community. My bad. I'm really passionate.
Yeah, no. So here's what happened with that situation. 3-6 Mafia. Everybody familiar with 3-6 Mafia? 3-6 Mafia, whether we want to embrace it or not, made history. They made history. 3-6 Mafia is the first hip hop group. The first hip hop group. Not Run DMC, not LL Cool J, not
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang, but 3-6 Mafia is the first hip hop group to ever win an Academy Award. They won an Oscar. That's even higher than a Grammy, right? And even when they were on stage getting their award, they were screaming Memphis, 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 Memphis. But as soon as they got off the plane back here, Memphis shunned them. Now here's another thing that happened during that same time. As soon as they won the Oscar, MTV gave them a TV show called Welcome to Hollywood. They said, if y'all gonna give us a show, we gotta shoot it in Memphis, because we want to rep where we come from. Their studio, they had a studio in Memphis. They were recording all their songs in Memphis, right? MTV came here. Sony Records, who they were signed to, was going to put a sub office in Memphis. So you was going to have Sony Records here. But because the city, newspapers, local media shunned them, MTV said, don't worry about it, let's just go to LA. Yeah. So now, sometimes we cut off our nose to spite our face. So not realizing, it may not necessarily be your genre of music, but you're not looking at the big picture, because you miss out on having MTV, a major, TV situation in your backyard. You missed out on having Sony bringing a label in your backyard because you didn't like this particular brand of music, not understanding the business structure.
I want to say one last.
Okay, these are marvelous conversations. We are going to have to move in just a second, but if you'd like to handle something short.
I just want to say what we're saying very clearly. Yes, it was a genre of music thing, it was a cultural thing, there was a lack of understanding of the vibranium, right? Man, almost 10 years ago, I went downtown, I was on Beale Street Landing, and I walked into the Welcome to Memphis thing, where they show you, where they're like, hey, welcome to Memphis, literally across the bridge, here's a whole bunch of cups and things you can buy to say you were in Memphis, right? The biggest thing I saw was a cup and a shirt that said, party like a redneck, welcome to Memphis, right? You know, I grew up in Memphis, fam. You know, I've seen a lot of things. I can't say that was happened so abundantly in this inside of 240, right? That should be the first thing I see when I walk into a Welcome to Memphis store. So the point I'm getting at is this, right? It wasn't just too bad. It wasn't just, it was too black. Let's be honest, fam. Let's keep it all the way real. And so to answer your question directly, I do think there has been an aversion to the identity of Memphis because these things can come across as maybe blacker than maybe people would feel comfortable with. Now, I do think that is changing. I do. But that's probably why that has not happened.
And we're in MUS, so that is, we're changing this in real time.
A lot of times. But one thing I try to tell everyone, especially when you first starting out, our job as producers is to try to teach you all how to be sharks. Now there's a myth about sharks, if you don't know about sharks. Does anyone know what happens if a shark stops moving? You ever heard about that? If a shark stops moving, it dies. Which means a shark never sleeps.
So you owe him $10.
No, but
I'm trying to make it interesting right now.
So in this industry, you all have to be sharks, which means, okay, you make a song, great, make another song, right? You started marketing, okay, now how can I improve on that marketing? Because you got to understand, while you're sleeping, somebody else is doing the work. So you can't just do one thing and say, okay, I'm good now. No, you have to keep going, keep going, keep going. You know, the three of us, we've been in this industry, for over, well, I'm probably older than everyone else up here, but each one of us, we've been in this industry for at least 20 years and not stop. Meaning we're constantly trying to evolve, we're constantly learning, we're constantly trying to, check out the new technology, the new sounds, what's going on in the streets, at the same time going back to hearing old stuff, because nowadays what's old is new again. That's why, because sampling, basically a lot of stuff that you all thinking that is new, they're sampling stuff that was done back in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, and it's new to you guys, but then your parents may say, oh, that's Earth, Wind, and Fire. Oh, that's Al Green. But to you, that's the new Glorilla, right? And people don't realize, like, one of Glorilla's newest songs is actually an old Aretha Franklin song, right? But if you don't know who Aretha Franklin, and once again, you have to be a fan of music in general to appreciate what you're trying to get into. So moving forward, don't just look at hip-hop as this one-dimensional situation. Hip-hop is multifaceted. You've got to be a fan of rock, country, blues, gospel, R&B, hip-hop, classical, because every aspect of music, you can hear it in a hip-hop song.
No question about it.
And because hip-hop is all about feeling. It's about what music as a general is about feeling. But at the same time, it's about what emotion you want to bring out in that particular situation. So, and the only way you can do that is you got to be a shark, and you got to do your homework, and you got to keep studying. You got to keep being a fan of different genres of music. Artists come and go. Artists come and go in this industry. But marketing, management, attorneys, stylists, photographers, you have people that have had careers in this industry and they're not necessarily the artists, because the artists may have a shine for that 1 year or 2 years, but guess what? Those photographers, they've been in the industry for 30 years. Those publishing houses, they've been in business forever.
And that's universal,
and that's
no
universal.
matter what decade you're in.
That's
universal.
They can always morph. So you can have a passion, but there are a lot of different industries inside of the industry.
Being an independent artist, and this is something that I have done since the beginning of my career on up to now, is remain being an independent artist and pushing the art that I want to push. I've definitely made money doing it, but it's definitely been times where the industry, it's a specific time where the industry, and it was after Hustle and Flow blew up, Whoop That Trick was huge. That was before I even made it to the NBA. I had all kind of labels calling me, wanting me to write songs for different artists. So everything it was great, but it was the industry part of it got to start getting in the way of my creativity, because the industry is almost like a machine. The way they were coming at me, it was like they'll feed you this, do this, write this, try it like this, and it was just, and I'm like, hold on, this is creating is not mechanical, it's organic.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
totally.
And I don't feel the organic vibe of creating anymore since I've got to this level of success as an independent, and I kind of withdrew at that moment. So when I withdrew, even though I still was getting royalty checks from the stuff that I did, I still was thinking, I don't want to only live on my royalty checks. I want to be able to, put that somewhere and not just live on that. So I made a conscious decision at that time to do something completely different right at that height, because the industry was taking away my creativity. And I went into IT. I didn't know what Control Alt Delete meant. That's how green I was to IT. But it was at a time where the music industry had, went from analog to digital, but I understood that I needed to know more about computer technology to stay current with the industry. So again, I'm saying this kind of all played a part of me deciding I'm just gonna go into IT. So I literally learned how to be a IT technician I started from the ground, graveyard shift on the weekend doing desktop support. It didn't have to, but I think because I was getting royalty checks, that helped me not stress out about the money at the time. So, but I was determined to just do something different to keep money coming in so I can get back to enjoying being creative. So I'm saying that to say that it's nothing, and I think a lot of times artists have a hard time, especially, I know in the hip hop industry, artists have a hard time embracing having a job and pursuing their career. But I feel like there's nothing wrong with that, because it opens up your creativity, because if you don't have to stress about getting money trying to make music, then you can be more creative. But if you're stressing about making money while you're trying to be in the industry, it could get in the way of your creativity. Mine was the opposite. It was too much coming in the industry, it was just, again, it was too mechanical. It was like a assembly line, and it got in the way of my creativity. And I just decided, okay, I'm gonna do something completely different. I'm going into IT, which in turn ended up helping me more when I reconnected to my creativity and I started making music again from here. Now I was able to take that skill and add it to being in the music industry, and it worked out. So I'm just going to what you were saying about, I just always want artists to know there's nothing wrong with having a side hustle or a job, to whether you're being a musician, whether you're being a YouTuber, whatever you're doing with social media, there's nothing wrong with having a job to keep regular money coming in, so you can stay creative until what you're doing blows up enough where you can really stay focused on that.